We're live. I'm just going to give it a second to let people connect. Already from the thumbnail, people saying, "Hey, David, you're wearing glasses. What's up with that?" Yes, I'm not lying in those Warby Parker ads when I say that I wear glasses. My last pair of contacts that I brought with me this weekend ripped, and I'm with the glasses the rest of the weekend. Had to order some new contacts, and thought I had an eyelash in my eye all night last night. Turns out it was probably pieces of my contact lens. In any case, those went right in the trash, and yeah, wearing glasses. So I'm going to talk about a bunch of different stuff today once people connect. So yesterday I talked about that bizarre Trump press conference. It's been followed up by an even weirder email, okay? And I'm going to get to that a little bit later. We now have learned, obviously, we knew that Michael Flynn lied a number of times about his conversation with the Russian ambassador that ultimately led to his resignation, forced resignation, of course. What we are now learning is that Flynn also lied to the FBI, and that starts to get into the world of what we call crime, criminality, and we're going to talk about that. Trump approval ratings, two new polls, one which says Trump's approval rating is down, another which says Trump's approval rating is up. We'll talk about that. We are now learning that I don't think anybody's going to be too surprised by this. We are now learning also that there are questions about Donald Trump's claims about his academic achievements at the University of Pennsylvania. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Somebody sent me a Craigslist post about money being offered to show up publicly in support of Trump on February 18th, tomorrow, and questions about whether that's true. And also, there are doctors who say now that presidents are living longer, maybe we should actually be testing for dementia. And although it might sound like this is specifically related to Donald Trump, and it's not crazy to think that when I say that, they are talking a little bit more broadly about that. Like I've been doing during these streams. Any new members that sign up at davidpakman.com/membership during the stream, I will give live shout outs and thank yous. And on that note, big thank you to Zenon Dawson, who just signed up at davidpakman.com/membership. And we do have discounts off of membership at I voted 17 is the coupon code. It'll work on any membership on our website. Okay, so I'm not going to rehash the entire Trump press conference from yesterday. It was insane. There's like a 45-minute live stream about that, and we will talk about that probably on the show the coming week as well. But so there's a follow-up to this, which is that moments after the press conference, the Trump, I mean, I don't know if you call it the Trump campaign. You may know that Donald Trump officially filed for re-election on Inauguration Day, which has a number of financial implications that we've discussed. But there was an email from the Trump-Pence campaign which says basically that the media is an enemy. They say, "Friend, you know that I don't trust the media to report on anything we achieve. Instead, you, the American people, are our last line of defense against the media's hit jobs. You are our greatest asset in helping our movement deliver the truth to the American people." And then it has a link which says, "I need you to take the mainstream media accountability survey to do your part to fight back against the media's attacks and deceptions." So immediately the first reaction from progressives, which is not a crazy reaction, was, hey, let's all get together and fill this out in a way that will completely distort whatever it is that the Trump campaign is looking to do, some kind of confirmation bias seemingly. And then after that, there was follow-up from a few different journalists who wrote articles saying, no, don't do that, because then they're going to have information on you. You know that we've looked at all the studies which tell us that from people's IP address, even an anonymous survey done online could still be providing enough metadata so that you could be tracked individually. You could end up on some list if you try to fill out the survey in a way that's antagonistic to Trump. So listen, I don't know ultimately what people are doing. I'm going to give it the weekend, and then we'll see next week what comes of this very strange media accountability survey from the Trump campaign. And I know people hear me say the Trump campaign and they say, well, but he's the president now. Campaign type communications have not stopped since Trump was inaugurated. And just a lot of very, very strange stuff in that survey. Benjamin Dixon show, checking in live. I wonder if Ben is at, oh no, it's Friday, so he wouldn't be at David Pakman Show Studios. It's a mystery. You never know what Benjamin Dixon is doing. He could be anywhere at any point in time. Like I said, I'll be doing live shout outs and thank yous to people who sign up at davidpakman.com/membership during the stream. Big thank you to Ellen Sherman, who just signed up at davidpakman.com/membership. And we do have a coupon code, which gives you a 40% discount. It's I voted 17. Yesterday, we had something like 36 people sign up during the live stream at davidpakman.com/membership, which was big. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Michael Flynn. These are basically, we have such a unique situation right now where in the old days of the David Pakman Show, and by that I mean like a year ago before the era of Trump, the night before the show, I would have, 5, maybe 6 of the next day's stories lined up. And the next day I would get up and I'd look at the news and I'd sort of pick 1 or 2 more stories for the show. The amount of insanity that's happening every single night between, I don't know, midnight and 6 a.m. Eastern is making it so that preparing for the David Pakman Show the day before is increasingly a futile effort where we might have 5, 6, really usually we have 15 or 20 possible stories for the next day. And then something happens at 3 a.m., sometimes on Twitter, and the entire show is sort of upended. And along these lines, we continue to learn more about former disgraced, ashamed National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. We knew, so to catch you up very quickly without redoing the entire story, Michael Flynn was Donald Trump's completely bogus National Security Advisor. And we learned that Michael Flynn lied to Mike Pence, and then Mike Pence lied, and many, many people lied about whether or not Flynn had discussed sanctions, Russian sanctions, with the Russian ambassador to the United States in the period between November 8th and January 20th, okay? So there were sort of 2 problems there. One was, well, why would Flynn be discussing sanctions? There's this sort of understanding that we have one president at a time, and someone who is the unconfirmed nominee for a president-elect should not be having conversations about Russian sanctions. That's number one. But then Flynn lied about it, okay? And then Mike Pence said, oh, Mike Flynn didn't have those conversations. It was all lies, okay? Flynn resigned. What we're now learning, and there's an article in the Washington Post, which we're going to dig into in detail next week on the show, is that Michael Flynn appears to have also lied to the FBI. And in conversation with the FBI about what he did or didn't say with the Russian ambassador, he denied having talked about those Russian sanctions. And we've been speculating or sort of wondering, could there be criminal charges somewhere in here as far as Michael Flynn is concerned? Now that we've learned that Flynn has lied to the FBI, this has escalated even more. Now, of course, Trump's still going to write the entire thing off of as some kind of conspiracy to, as Trump said, distract from Hillary having lost. Who's still talking about Hillary having lost? If you're almost calling more attention to it, if that's the idea, or that this is all a cover-up for Pizzagate or whatever. Increasingly, it's clear that Michael Flynn may indeed have committed a crime, and if that's the case, then that needs to be fully and properly investigated. No question about it. Big thank you to John Steffes, who has just signed up for membership at davidpakman.com/membership. You can read about the benefits there. Mostly we're funded by membership. And you can use the coupon code IVoted17 for a 40% discount. The Progressive Voice has sent a super chat for $2 saying, I'm a new progressive news show. Could you help me? I don't know how to address that. It's ideal if there's some kind of specific question, but if I could give general advice to progressive news shows, number one, content is king, focus on content. And number two, What is number two? I don't know. It's really just focus on content. That's really sort of the key thing. All right, let's continue with a couple other stories. And before I do that, a big thank you to Joanne Yamaka. Joanne Yamaka has just signed up at davidpakman.com/membership using the coupon code IVoted17, which saves you 40%. And just one small other detour before I get into the Trump approval rating stuff. You know, is it really, how old are the people in the comments who are either calling me a faggot, cuck, four eyes? I mean, it feels like we're in third grade here. If this is truly what your life has become, going on the internet and attempting to call attention to yourself by calling people on the internet cuck and faggot, I truly feel sorry for you. I mean, I can't even get mad. I genuinely, and if Ben Dixon is still on, I'm back. I think I just got disconnected. I apologize about that. I don't know what's going on with the connection. It seems to have gone down, but I believe that I'm back. I don't know. Okay, Trump's approval rating. Pew Research Center says Trump's approval rating has fallen off the cliff down to 39%. Rasmussen, who tends to be more friendly to Republicans, says Trump's approval rating has skyrocketed to 55%. I tend to just follow the Gallup Daily Tracking Poll. The Gallup Daily Tracking Poll has basically been done for, I think it's like 40 years or something like that. And that's the one that I tend to follow. And along that note, let's pull up what it is. Daily Presidential Tracking. Because that one has basically been slightly trailing off for Trump. And let's see where it is today. I don't know. For whatever reason, I'm having a hard time pulling that up on my computer. Where is the daily tracking poll? I don't know. So whether it's 39 or 55 is a major difference. Here's why it matters. And a lot of people, so two things on this. Number one, there's people who say the polls got the election wrong, so why would we pay any attention to polls today? Absolutely wrong on multiple fronts. Number one, the election polls were not wrong. I mean, they generally had Hillary Clinton ahead in the national popular vote by around 2 to 4%. She ended up winning by about 3 points in the national popular vote. So the polls were right about that. And they were within the margin of error in those 3 states in which a total of 77,000 votes gave the election to Donald Trump. Okay, so if you're starting off with the premise that the election polls were wrong, thus anything, the election polls were not really wrong in a sort of mathematical, methodological sense. Further, approval rating is much different. You don't need a likely voter model in the same way that you do. People could have an opinion of who they would vote for if they voted, and that would be separate from, is that person actually going to vote? And since we only had roughly 50% voter turnout, the assessing of who is actually going to vote is really, really important. Presidential approval is a totally different thing. But the reason it matters is Trump started with one of the lowest approval ratings of any recent president. It took him only 8 days to get to 50% disapproval. For comparison, it took our prior 4 presidents anywhere from, I think it's like 600 to 1,300 days to get to a point of 50% disapproval. If Trump's approval rating continues to slide as we start getting into the 2018 midterms, which, remember, all 435 seats in the House of Representatives are up for re-election every 2 years, you are going to start to see Republicans jumping ship because mathematically, it's going to start to become a liability to be on the Trump train, so to speak, and it's going to potentially be advantageous to them to get away from that. I see a few people saying that as of February 16th, the Gallup tracking poll has Trump at 38%. If that's true, that's crazy. I haven't seen that. I can't independently confirm that. But if that's true, that's absolutely crazy. So that's my thought on the Trump approval rating. I would take a look at the Gallup Daily Tracking Poll. We've got a $5 super chat from Mr. Corin, who says, David, your thoughts on having some sort of non-government oversight companies could opt into and gain a way to appeal to thoughtful consumers at a glance. There's a number of those already. I don't want to name any because some of them I don't think do a particularly good job, but there are a lot of different companies, and you can Google this, organizations that claim to, and it'd be up to you to figure out whether their claims are believable to you, to say, hey, we've established that these companies are, they have upstanding business practices, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, I am going to ban one person here, if I can, because you know what? It doesn't even seem like I can ban people from my phone, which is really, really unfortunate. Let's see if I can do it from the computer, because there are some serious trolls that I don't really mind the trolling too much. Yeah, I've lost my ability to ban people. I'm not even logged in with the right account to my stream, unfortunately. Let's see if I can switch over here. If you're just going to post comment after comment after comment and fill the chat, we really can't do that, okay? All right, now I've got my permissions, block, and the user who goes by the name Free Speech has been banned. Call me a cuck, whatever, but if you're going to just go one after another, it's just going to be a major, major distraction. All right. Remember, coupon code, I voted 17. You can sign up at davidpakman.com/membership. Live thank yous and shout outs. And of course, everybody who signs up gets instant access to the bonus show, which we do every single day just for our subscribers. Okay, not that this is going to be surprising to many of the subscribers to our channel, but it appears as though Donald Trump may have sort of not been totally upfront about his academic record at Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania. There's an article from Philly.com, and Donald Trump has claimed to be sort of a real Ivy League guy, brilliant guy with just a stunning academic record. And he's been claiming that he was a top student in his class all the way back from 1973. There was a New York Times profile in '73 which said, hey, Trump graduated first in his class. But that wasn't actually attributed to anything in particular. And then in 1976, so 3 years later, there was another New York Times profile where it also said, oh, this guy, Donald Trump, at the time much less well known, graduated first in his class. And it's sort of been repeated since, and often the 1973 and 1976 articles are cited as the source of that. But now people have actually started looking at the records, and there's no evidence whatsoever that Donald Trump graduated at the top of his class. So I won't get into all the details now because we're going to do the story fully and properly next week. But is anybody, in the comments, let me know, would anybody be shocked to hear that Donald Trump's claims about academic achievement may have been overblown? It's not clear the guy can read beyond a 4th or 5th grade level. So to me, it's absolutely and completely unsurprising. And if you actually look, just one more bit of data, if you look at the 1968 commencement program from the University of Pennsylvania, Trump is not listed among anybody who graduated with honors, among anybody who got other awards, etc. So Trump's nowhere as far as that goes, okay? Not surprising to me in absolutely any way. Big thank you to 2 new David Pakman Show members who signed up at davidpakman.com/membership in the last few days. Number 1, Jorge Torres, and number 2, Jerry Hickel. Thank you to both of you, both using the coupon code IVoted17. The great thing about the coupon code is you pay less, but you still get everything that you would get paying full price. So I'm not an expert in this type of thing, but if you can pay less and get all the same stuff, that sounds pretty good. A few people have pointed me to I was going to say a Craigslist post, but I'm actually going to say a screenshot of a Craigslist post which claims to be seeking pro-Trump rally attendees for Donald Trump's rally that he's doing tomorrow, and it's offering either a complimentary gift or a cash voucher. So I've not looked into this yet, and if you want to help me with some of the background research on this, what this is implying is that for this very strange rally, it's almost like the campaign is still going on for Trump. Common thing that authoritarian, dictatorial types like to do, which is even when they're in power, they keep doing rallies as if they're still campaigning. what, if true, if this is a legitimate Craigslist post, it appears as though people are being offered money to show up and a protest, or not necessarily protest, but just sort of like rally in favor of Donald Trump. So we're going to be looking into that, and we'll see what we can find out about that between now and our next show. We've got a $5 super chat from the Progressive Voice saying, I'm new on the scene trying to get my name out there. I'm sure you were in this position in 2010. What did you do to grow? Can I get a shout out? Well, what I did was I became very consistent and reliable. So we developed, when at the time we didn't have a lot of broadcast affiliates, I knew that showing up is half or more of the battle. So that if we could put together a reliable schedule for a show, which I think in 2010 was only twice a week or something like that, we would be able to do quite well. And indeed, that was sort of like the number one thing that I think made a big difference. Excuse me, I'm just going to have to ban a couple other people here. I'm doing the best I can to keep up with the chat. There is just a lot of really crazy stuff that's going on in the chat, and we've got 830 people on the live stream, which is great. Even if only half of 1% of those are unsufferable trolls, that's still 4 to 5 people, and so that that's something that's going to require some attention. Okay. Other stories that I'm going to be dealing with next week on the show. There's a very interesting article on NPR, which you can search for. The title is, As Presidents Live Longer, Doctors Debate Whether to Test for Dementia. I know that it sounds like this is just related to Donald Trump. And obviously, seeing what's going on with Donald Trump makes us question whether he might be mentally ill, have early, not early onset, but rather early stage Alzheimer's or some kind of dementia, whether he just can't read that well, whether he's emotionally unstable, whatever. And there are doctors now who are saying, listen, Donald Trump is making us think of this because of his erratic behavior, yes, but also because of his, he's the oldest president to ever be inaugurated in the United States. And the longer people live, the more that it should be known whether we have people here who are of diminished cognitive capacity. And this is a story that we're going to be looking at. And, you know, the other thing that is relevant here is you would say, well, you just have the doctor tell you, the president's doctor will tell us whether everything's okay. Let me say 2 words for you to remind you of why that's not possible. Harold Bornstein. This is Trump's doctor, who we learned in 5 minutes, with Trump reportedly waiting outside in a limo, threw together a completely hyperbolic and bogus letter about Donald Trump's health, saying Trump would be the healthiest president ever inaugurated. How could Dr. Harold Bornstein know that without having examined every other president? I mean, it was just totally laughable. So we can't even really trust medical professionals, to be completely honest and reliable as far as this goes. And indeed, I think that there's something to this, and it would be really a good thing for us to know. Are there people here who are of diminished cognitive capacity because of some condition that they might have? Okay, a few people saying, David, you're talking about membership, but what's included in membership? Can you explain that? I'll just take 20 seconds to explain that. If you have a membership, instead of having these 3 to 5 minute clips on YouTube every single day, much earlier than the YouTube clips go live, you get the full hour TV show minus the commercials, which works out to about 51 minutes, okay, every single day. In addition to that, every day we do a bonus show. It's roughly 15 minutes, sometimes it goes 20, and we do additional stories, more behind the scenes stuff, et cetera, okay? So that's something else that you get as a David Pakman Show member. You also get an archive that goes all the way back to the first shows in 2005. I hesitate to even mention that because those shows are pretty embarrassingly bad, but, you know, they're available. Normally, only the last 8 podcasts are available, but our paid members can go all the way back to the first shows. So those are a few of the things that are available. We'll also do sort of quarterly or every few months, we'll do a members-only video conference where people can connect, Skype in, and talk to the staff, ask questions, etc. All right. So those are the few of the things that are available. I'm going to be covering next week the story of the FBI arresting a neo-Nazi who was planning a Dylann Roof-style massacre at none other location than a synagogue. And, you know, it got some coverage, but again, this is this is a story that it's not going to be that appealing to people that are completely committed to the idea that only Muslims are a problem when it comes to terrorism. And I wish that people didn't get so upset when I just kind of laid out the reality when it comes to this. And so here's the truth, right? Worldwide, it is Muslim men who are the most common perpetrators of acts of terror. In the United States, it's American-born white men that are the most common perpetrators of acts of terror. And I recently, in a course that I'm doing with the Anti-Defamation League, we actually had an expert come in. They have experts who have come in to talk to us about Islamic terror, and we had that course. And we also had an expert come in to talk to us about white nationalist terror. And this includes a bunch of different groups. So under white nationalist terror, you've got official groups like the KKK. You have white nationalists. Those are more people like Richard Spencer, who at least publicly say, as he told me in our interview, that they are against physical violence. You have Aryan prison gangs, and you might say, well, why is that relevant? They're only in prison. Not true. Actually, the activities of Aryan prison gangs are overlapping into the sort of world at large. And so there's a whole bunch of different groups. In any case, the right-wing terror, of which white nationalist, white supremacist terror is a part, so-called patriot movement is another aspect of that, anti-government right-wingers are another part of domestic right-wing terror. It's actually the most common source of terrorist acts in the United States. There seem to be a lot of people on either side committed to only one narrative. You have some people on the left who don't want to at all talk about the fact that worldwide Muslim men are the #1 perpetrators of terrorist acts. But then you have people on the right who want to pretend like Trump's Muslim majority immigration ban is the solution to terror in the United States, even though immigrants and refugees from the listed countries haven't actually come over and committed acts of terror, and pretend like we just don't have to worry about American-born white dudes. Both of these views are completely unproductive, fundamentally because they're inaccurate. And if you're not going to start with the facts, it's going to be really, really tough to have a good conversation. So we're going to dig into this story absolutely next week on the program, the FBI arresting a neo-Nazi planning an attack in the style of Dylann Roof. There's a few super chats I want to get to. There's a $5 super chat from Cyfox who says, we should be more focused on mental health in this country anyway. It is laughable how the state of our mental health knowledge is... Question mark? I guess is it laughable how the state of our mental health knowledge is? I'm struggling a little bit with the syntax of this question, but our lack of awareness of the ways in which mental health is pervading many areas of society, I think, is absolutely, I don't know that I'd use the term laughable, but maybe sad. Chimp Hands has sent a $5 super chat saying, my hands are better than Trump's because they give you $5. That is true. That is true, and there is absolutely no way around that. Okay, people keep talking to me about that I should answer the question from Super Shit. I don't know who or what Super Shit is, and I don't know what the question is, but maybe if a couple people can repeat it. The chat is moving so fast that it's hard for me to keep up with it. So let me know what that is. Lou Chu has sent a $5 Canadian super chat with no question. Thank you for that. Is there anybody here who can explain to me what the question is from Super Shit, which is an interesting name? I'm scrolling and I'm not... Oh, let's see. Here it is. David, do you think it's offensive to compare Hitler and Trump and cheapens what Jews went through? Many Jewish leaders speak out against the comparison. Thanks, David. Okay, perfectly good question. For a long time, I've spoken out against making allusions or likening things to Nazis or Hitler or the Holocaust, merely for the sake of sort of being provocative, particularly when it's not accurate. So To say Trump is Hitler, to me, seems wrong, because right now, it just doesn't seem like there's really a fair comparison there. What I think is perfectly reasonable to do, and I want to pull up the specific name because I want to have clarity this evening. There is a professor who is named Timothy Snyder from Yale, okay? And I'm trying to get him on the show because he recently did an interview that is very, very interesting. And I think there are people already in the comments who are starting to point to what I'm about to get to. Timothy Snyder, the Yale professor, has spoken out, and his area of expertise is Europe, World War I, World War II, and the period between World Wars I and II. He has pointed out that there are many similarities between what is going on in the United States with Donald Trump, the rise of the alt-right, the authoritarian pseudo-populist rhetoric. There are similarities, empirical, historical similarities, between the pre-World War II era and what is going on right now. To be clear, that's not saying that Trump is Hitler. It's not even close to saying that Donald Trump is Hitler. I think that we need to be a little more thoughtful. Is it offensive to compare stuff to Hitler? I don't know. I tend not to use the term offensive so loosely because it often doesn't have that much real meaning. What does it really mean to say something is offensive? So I think we should be paying attention to what Timothy Snyder is saying. Okay, let me give a few thank you shout outs as people have been signing up in droves while I've been talking here at davidpakman.com/membership. Number one, Diana Guire, Diana, that part I'm sure of. Thank you for signing up at davidpakman.com/membership. Thank you to Kyle Dickinson, who has also created a subscription at davidpakman.com/membership with the coupon code IVoted17, which gives you 40% off. Okay, so I think I've gone basically through most of what we're going to be talking about as of right now. Next week on the first or second shows of the week. This story keeps getting pushed back. This is sort of a longer story, and segment producer Noah Ferguson, I think, maybe is somebody who could help with some of the background research on this. There is a strategy that can be employed to destroy fake news, and I addressed fake news a little bit yesterday, and we've talked about how the blatant actual fake news, right? Not using the word fake news to talk about news we don't like, but actual fake, satirical, deliberately just made up stories, right? They've been leaning left since the inauguration of Donald Trump. And we talked about that yesterday a little bit. But there is actually a strategy that's really effective for dealing with fake news, which is fake news exists because it's profitable. And there's stories about Eastern European countries where the average wage is like $400 US dollars a month. And there's fake news operations that are making, 10 or 20 or even 30 times that on a monthly basis. And the reason that's happening is mostly not because advertisers are saying, hey, I'm gonna buy ads on a fake news website, but rather because they're advertising through ad networks and they may not even know that their ads are showing up on some of these fake news sites. And it's been a super effective campaign when you're on one of these sites and you see an ad for a company where you say, sort of seems like a respectable company, I'm surprised that they would be advertising on this site. You take a screenshot of it, and then you start tweeting it to the company. And the pressure that has been put on a lot of these companies, because they didn't even know that their ad was showing up on these websites, many of them have gone and said, we are pulling our ads from those websites. Warby Parker, which by the way, these people always laugh, they say, in the Warby Parker ad that you do, David, you don't wear your Warby Parker glasses. Because my contacts ripped yesterday and I have to wait a few days for replacements, I'm wearing my Warby Parker glasses. Warby Parker's ads were showing up on Breitbart. They didn't know, wasn't deliberate. People shamed them publicly and they pulled the advertising, okay? Okay, we have a 50 NOK. I don't know what currency NOK is. That can't possibly be North Korean currency, right? I don't even know how many dollars 50 NOKs is. The question is from TTV5. David, should the Department of Justice move to prosecute Dave Rubin for the murder of Reason? This was worth it to me. Very funny. I am genuinely curious what NOK, what currency? Oh, Norwegian kroner. Does anybody know how much 50 Norwegian kroner is in American dollars? I don't know offhand. Lyle Frappier sending a $3 Canadian super chat saying, don't you find Shirley Phelps Roper from the Westboro Baptist Church resembles Kellyanne Conway? Never thought about that before, but not really. No, I don't actually see that. Okay, 50 Norwegian kroner is $2. I saw 50 and thought, I don't know. I know that the economies are pretty strong over there. Somebody else saying that it's $6. Okay, very, very funny. 1 Norwegian krone equals 12 US cents, which is interesting. All right, well, I'm glad that that was worth it for you. Okay, Robert Little. Thank you for signing up at davidpakman.com/membership. Robert used the coupon code IVoted17, which saves you 40% off of the cost of membership. Okay, last thing I want to mention for next week's programs. People have been asking me to talk about something called, I think I need to raise my chair, I'm a little low, aren't I? Tax resistance, okay? And tax resistance, as I understand it, and I will admit I have not prepared in detail for doing this story next week. Tax resistance is basically refusing to pay taxes because you're opposed to the government that's imposing the tax. And of course, if you truly don't pay taxes, period, and you should be paying taxes, you typically end up in jail, at least if you're caught. But there's a strategy which can be employed, which is if you're a W-2 employee, when you sign up, when you get hired, not sign up, when you sign up to work, when you get hired and go through the hiring process, you tell your employer how much money you want them to withhold from your check. And there's the idea that if everybody adjusted their withholding so that you're not getting any money taken out during the year. Yes, at the end of the year, you file your taxes, and then you still end up having to write a check for what you would have paid throughout the year. But the idea being, if everybody did this, if everybody withheld their tax withholdings throughout the entire year, it would deprive the government of the money that they need to operate, okay? That's sort of the idea. We're going to be looking into, I do want to talk about this. It's a very, very interesting idea. I actually don't know whether mathematically it would work. I don't know if it's possible for logistical reasons, like maybe as a W-2 employee, you are supposed to be paying some minimum on a quarterly basis. I'm not really sure. So we're going to be looking into that. Just taking a quick look at the chat to see if there is some significant kind of drama that's going on there. Things sort of seem okay right now. A few other notes. Number one, if you have any interview suggestions, I would say that at this point, half or more of our interviews are suggestions from the audience. If you have any suggestions, you can always email me, david@davidpakman.com, and we will look into them. We are doing more and more of these two-part interviews, which people seem to be liking so far. We did one with Peter Boghossian last week. We have a couple more scheduled coming up, and we actually have some fantastic interviews coming up for you. And I was sort of hesitant before we started doing the two-part interview thing to do longer interviews, to do interviews with certain people, because the conversations just can't be had in 12 minutes, which is what we often had. But now that we're extending interview segments over 2 days, there's a lot of people we're going to be able to talk to. Next week, we are going to have Luke Vargas reporting in from Mexico, actually talking to companies about what the impact on them would be of some of the policies that Donald Trump is proposing, etc. We're also going to talk to Bill Oglesby on Wednesday, the 22nd. He's an expert on gerrymandering and the history of gerrymandering. I think it's going to be absolutely fascinating. And then on Thursday, we will be interviewing Stefan. I believe the right pronunciation of his last name is Guyenet or Guyenet. he did a Reddit AMA recently. Very interesting. He's an expert on obesity and metabolism and the history of dieting and whatnot. And then the following week, this is going to be a two-part interview with Marcelo Gleiser, who is going to talk to us about the neuroscience of morality. So not whether science can tell us about morality, but specifically the neuroscience of morality and how the brain is impacted by that. $5 super chat from Jerry Hickle, who says, David, wanted to ask you if you think Donald Trump may have simply not matured to be an adult due to his privileged upbringing. Yeah, we've talked about that. There's no doubt that some aspect of what is going on with Trump is just not having had to endure what sort of the average non-billionaire has to endure, or non-millionaire as well. I think that there's absolutely something to that. Okay, some people talking about something that Brody Andrew Mulligan said, people reacting to that, although I can't actually tell what that is. Scary Plague sent a super chat asking my thoughts on the upcoming Bundy trial. I don't know much about it. I don't know what exactly is going on with that, but I am interested to find out more about it. That is, I think we're having some kind of connection problem. My laptop has completely imploded at this point from the stream. So I think this is probably a good time to call it. Thanks to everybody who signed up at davidpakman.com/membership. The coupon code will work even after I disconnect. I voted 17. We're mostly funded by you. So I do hope you'll check out membership, and we'll do another live stream very, very soon.